All right. Hello. Good evening, folks. Welcome to another Classic Comics live stream. And this one, shouldn't take too long. There's not a whole lot going on, or at least not much that I was interested in. And I guess it kind of figures. It is August. The summer's winding down. There's no, you know, August is one of those dumping ground months, kind of like February, where they just drop movies that they know probably aren't going to do much of anything. And I think this week the number one movie at the box office was Deadpool and Wolverine again, which is continuing to just make tons of money. But there were a couple of things. So let me bring up first here. Hold on a second. Okay. So the first thing I wanted to take a look at is this. So this week, this image was posted on X. And the story is from IGN. The Thing revealed and leaked Fantastic Four First Steps set photos. A leaked photo from the set of the Fantastic Four First Steps has revealed a behind-the-scenes look at what Ben Grimm, a.k.a. The Thing, will look like in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The image, posted by Cosmic M Media, shows the Thing suited up in his retro blue and white suit, which... yeah, I'll talk about that in a minute. But while members of the crew ensure his rocky head fits just right, he's sporting the large, bulky eyebrows comic book readers will remember from other stories the character has appeared in. It's also somewhat of a departure from the rounder look Ben Grimm was given in the Fantastic Four movies from the 2000s and 2015's Fantastic Four. I mean, well... the 2015 one, the Thing wasn't rounded. I don't know what they're talking about there. Okay, so we've seen the concept art for this Thing before, but today's leaked set photos show how the classic Marvel character will transition to live action when Fantastic Four First Steps premieres next summer. Ben Grimm will be played by the Bear and Andor actor Eben Moss Bachrach. It's unclear if the star is actually piloting the boulder-like suit seen in the image above, but we will likely see him without his powers, at least in some form, during the film too. The rest of the Fantastic Four First Steps cast include Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards, Vanessa Kirby as Sue Storm, Joseph Quinn as Johnny Storm. While we've not seen an official look at the remaining cast of heroes in their suits, San Diego Comic-Con 2024 attendees did get to see behind the closed doors footage of the movie that included first looks at each hero as well as their planet-eating enemy, Galactus. As for the Thing, today's image suggests Marvel may be using a combination of practical and CGI effects to bring him to life when Fantastic Four First Steps lands in theaters July 25th, 2025. Shooting began late last month, so while we keep an eye out for more sneak peeks at the latest entry in the MCU, you can read why we think it's the perfect way to introduce Marvel's next phase of movies, blah, blah, blah. If you're still confused where its subtitle comes from, check out our breakdown here. Okay. So, I gotta say, overall, the head, let me bring this up here. I mean, it's a little blurry, but that head does look like a John Byrne style thing. I mean, it does. Now, as you can see, they're kind of pulling this thing on. So it looks like this is a latex mask of some kind. So I'm guessing this thing isn't like articulated. I'm guessing this is probably something, this is like a stunt double or stand-in or something. And this is being used in distant shots, where the camera's not up close. So they don't need the face to be articulated or anything like that. I'm not guessing the actor Eben Moss Bachrach is in this. This is probably a stunt double or something like that. I assume that for close-up shots, there'll be a mix of it'll probably be mostly CGI motion capture stuff, I would think. This thing obviously kind of looks a little rough. It looks like it's distressed, like it's kind of been treated roughly. I don't know. So it'll probably look better on screen. Like I say, this is probably for distance and not for something up close. So, but I mean, if this is an indication of what he's going to look like in the movie, I gotta say, I think it looks pretty much like what I would want as far as his face is concerned. My real issue here is with the costume. So, there's been some images before, but now we're finally, this is the first live from the set image I've seen. And as you can see, it's like this kind of powder blue or sky blue with white. Yeah. So I don't know, it's just another example of how they just can't do it quite right. They always have to tweak something or alter something. Because the Fantastic Four, their original suits were like blue with black boots and gloves, and a kind of black kind of collar. And then, of course, in the 80s, Byrne changed that and gave them it's a dark blue costume with white gloves and boots and collar. Now, since then, they've had some variations, but mainly it's been one of those two. When there was a point back, I think in the 2000s, I believe it was, where Johnny Storm died, quote unquote died. He came back, of course. And during that period, they changed their name to Future Foundation, and they wore like a white costume that had like black gloves and stuff. So this sort of light blue with white is not from the comics. This is, a thing they're doing. And, look, it's not like it's awful, but it's just, come on. I can't. And also interesting that the Thing is wearing this, because usually the Thing goes bare chested. For most of his history, he's just worn like a pair of shorts, a pair of briefs, basically. Now, at times he has had some variations. He's worn like some trunks, and then it had, leggings with it and boots at one point. But he's never really, he has a couple of times, but he's not worn a full suit like this very often. And one wonders if this isn't some kind of cost-saving measure, so they don't have to just show all of him on screen all the time. I don't know. But so I don't know. I try not to judge too harshly. We'll see how it all looks on screen, but it's really frustrating, this whole thing with the costumes. It's because they could easily do it right if they wanted to, but they just don't want to for whatever reason. Okay. All right. Let's move on to our next one here. And this is from Variety. Ryan Reynolds calls for more Blade after Wesley Snipes' return. The most tense thing I've heard in a theater was people screaming for him. And there's a photo of them together there. Ryan Reynolds is calling for more Blade on the big screen following Wesley Snipes' long-awaited return as the Marvel superhero in Deadpool and Wolverine. Reynolds shared to Instagram behind-the-scenes photos he took with Snipes on the film's set. Snipes debuted as Blade in the 1998 movie of the same name and reprised the character in 2002's Blade 2 and 2004's Blade Trinity, the latter of which co-starred Reynolds. The reaction when Snipes enters the movie is the most intense thing I've heard in a theater, Reynolds wrote in the caption to the post. People screaming with uninhibited joy and love is also the sound of a legacy. More Blade, please. Snipes' Blade was one of several heroes from Fox's era of Marvel movies to return in Deadpool and Wolverine. Jennifer Garner's Elektra and Chris Evans' Johnny Storm also appeared, much to the delight of comic book movie fans. Snipes opened up to Entertainment Weekly about what it was like reprising Blade after 20 years in Deadpool and Wolverine following the movie's record-breaking opening weekend. Over the years, we've had very interesting conversations, some of them substantive and some of them not. Snipes told Entertainment Weekly about bringing his iteration of Blade back for a fourth go-around. So I kind of resided that I was moving on from them, which is okay. I did 3 of them, and I thought they turned out pretty good. Not so bad. So we move on to other things and bigger and better things as well. Reynolds texted Snipes during development on Deadpool and Wolverine to ask if he might be interested in reprising his role as Blade. Reynolds sent in a text that read, "I want to talk to you." I did not think it was possible, Snipes said of his return to Blade after 20 years. I didn't think we would be able to pull it off. I didn't think Marvel was into it. Disney was into it. Also because they had Mahershala Ali cast for the next upcoming version. I thought it didn't make sense to me, but when you get a call from Ryan Reynolds out of the blue after 20 years, you go, okay, I got to take this call. Let's see what this is about. He told me the idea. They said yes, and it's a go. If you're in, we're in. Here we are. Marvel had been developing its own Blade reboot with Ali for the past couple of years, though it has faced numerous development issues. Yeah, no kidding. It was announced on June 12th that director Jan Demange was exiting the movie and that a new screenwriter, Eric Pearson, of the Fantastic Four and Black Widow, was coming on board. Deadpool and Wolverine has grossed $1.15 billion at the box office and counting to become the highest grossing R-rated movie in history. The film is the second highest grossing movie of 2024 so far, behind Inside Out 2. Okay, so I don't know. Will they do another? It'll be interesting to see. I'd be surprised if that happens because, as he said, they're working on this other Blade thing. What I would bet is that you'll probably see Wesley Snipes' Blade again in Secret Wars. I wouldn't be surprised because I actually have a story on that here. I think that'll be my next story. So I'll elaborate on that in a minute. But as far as them doing a Blade movie, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't mind it. I think Reynolds had said something like he wanted to see like a Logan style send off for him, kind of a Blade at the end of the line kind of movie. I mean, that would be fine. I wouldn't mind. I'm kind of neutral on it. It's if they do it, it's cool. If they don't, I'm not going to sweat it. But let's move on to the next one here because this kind of touches on a similar thing. Okay. And this is from comicbookmovie.com. Marvel Studios has reportedly enlisted these 5 legacy actors for Avengers Secret Wars. Deadpool and Wolverine featured plenty of huge multiversal cameos, but Marvel Studios no doubt has something even bigger planned for Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars. It's unclear how many actors Marvel Studios will announce in advance, though we're sure plenty will be left as surprises. Now, though, at least 5 of those might have been revealed by so-called scooper My Time to Shine Hello. They claim that Tobey Maguire, Chris Evans, Nicolas Cage, Wesley Snipes, and Scarlett Johansson have all supposedly agreed to return to the MCU for Avengers Secret Wars. Over the next few years, we should likely brace ourselves for a never-ending list of potential cameos to do the rounds online. Some will be correct and others will simply be names thrown at the wall to see what sticks. Yeah, I mean, we already kind of saw that with this Deadpool and Wolverine movie, didn't we? However, in the months leading up to Deadpool and Wolverine's release, all of the Void's biggest cameos and Henry Cavill's Cavalry were leaked in advance on social media. Marvel Studios has taken the next 2 Avengers movies in a different direction since Jonathan Jonathan Majors was ousted as the MCU's Kang the Conqueror. While that villain's story could still be wrapped up somehow, Robert Downey Jr. will suit up as Dr. Doom to play the multiverse saga's new big bad. Despite the major change, the plots of both movies will likely remain largely the same. Based on past rumors and incursion, we'll see Earth 616 and Earth, was that 10,000 or 100,005 collide with a new battle world subsequently created, which is made up of the remains of those and other destroyed worlds. So I guess Earth 616 is like the MCU, and then Earth 1005 is what the Fox one, I guess. I don't know. The end game is for the MCU to be softly rebooted with a new sacred timeline, which recasts key roles and adds the Fantastic Four and X-Men to the fray. You know, this whole sacred timeline and the TVA and all that crap was a mistake. They never should have brought all that in. Quote, "Yeah, I'm heartbroken," Majors recently said when asked on the street about being replaced. Of course, I'm heartbroken. I love him. I love Kang. Dr. Doom is wicked, though. When it was put to the Loki star that Downey was forgiven for his past run-ins with the law, he added, "I think it's fair that Mr. Downey has been greeted with patience, curiosity, and love, and that Ezra Miller has gotten the same treatment. And that they're being allowed to work their art and be creative on that level. I didn't really get that." Well, yeah, I mean, look, Downey was out of it for a while, you know, and part of that was he was in jail for a while. Part of it wasn't. So he's kind of, I mean, I kind of agree with him on Ezra. What Ezra's been able to skate by and get away with is ridiculous. Avengers Doomsday is set to be released in May 2026, with Avengers Secret Wars scheduled to arrive in May 2027. Stay tuned for updates. Okay. So, not, I think, big surprises in terms of the names. Actually, only thing that really surprises me is that, let's see, that Andrew Garfield, that he isn't on the list. You've got Tobey Maguire, but no Andrew Garfield. That's really the only thing that surprises me. But Chris Evans, again, he was just in Avengers Wolverine, or Avengers Deadpool Wolverine. So not a big surprise there. Blade 2. And Scarlett Johansson, I mean, I don't know if that's a big surprise. I bet they're going to pay her a lot, though, because I think she and the folks at Marvel haven't been on the best of terms, but money talks. And Nicolas Cage, I mean, I like Nicolas Cage and all, but let's face it, he'll do just about anything. He's not the most discerning guy when it comes to movies, so not surprising he's up for it, though. As far as others, I would imagine that I'd be very surprised if Wolverine isn't it? Yeah, that's another thing. Is that a Hugh Jackman? I'm surprised he's not on this list, or Reynolds either, for that matter. But you would imagine they'll probably both pop up at some point, and that you may see cameos by other characters from, the 20th Century Fox movies, which would be, you'd be thinking characters from the X-Men films, either the original cast with Stewart and Ian McKellen, or the later iteration with McAvoy and oh good Lord, what's the other Magneto actor's name? I'm blanking on his name now. But that group, and then of course you could see maybe other characters from the Fox Fantastic Four. And we probably shouldn't rule out Fan Four Stick, honestly. I mean, nobody really likes it, but you never know. I mean, they probably wouldn't be very expensive to get, except maybe Michael Jordan. He might be. You never know. They might throw him in. And what else? I think a name that gets thrown around is Ben Affleck's Daredevil. Honestly, I'd be surprised if that happened. I suspect Affleck's just not going to be that interested. Because he said before he's really not interested in doing this kind of franchise stuff anymore after his whole experience with Warner Brothers. I suspect they probably wanted to have him in Deadpool and Wolverine. He probably said no. But, we'll just have to wait and see. Like they said in the article, we'll probably see a lot of rumors flying around as we come up to the release of that movie. Okay. What am I, 20 minutes? All right. All right. Now, speaking of Dr. Doom, let me bring this up right quick because this is a story I saw. Kind of caught my interest. This is from firstcuriosity.com. Never heard of it, but here we go. Mads Mikkelsen was the first choice for Dr. Doom, not Robert Downey Jr. And, I remember when they announced Downey Jr. as Dr. Doom, I remember immediately thinking, well, who would I have preferred? And Mads Mikkelsen was one of the first names that came to mind. I thought they should have just gotten him. And apparently he was the guy, at least at one point. The return of Robert Downey Jr. as Dr. Doom in the MCU was undoubtedly exciting. Many fans were thrilled about the prospect of Iron Man's return in a new villainous guise. This discontent stems from a surprising revelation. According to a recent report, Mads Mikkelsen was reportedly in the running for the iconic role. Mikkelsen is known for many villainous roles, and some fans believe he would have been a better fit than Downey. I agree. I think he probably would have been better. The Danish actor is renowned for his chilling portrayals in films like Casino Royale and series like Hannibal. Additionally, he is no stranger to embodying complex and sinister characters. His transformation into the dark wizard Grindelwald in the Fantastic Beasts franchise showcased his ability to command the screen. I guess I never saw those. Additionally, according to the reports, Marvel only chose Downey due to him being a safe option. This might have been due to the trouble they faced with recasting Jonathan Majors-King after the actor faced legal troubles. So many fans argue that his talents for embodying complex villains would have been a perfect fit for the enigmatic Dr. Doom. While Downey Jr. undoubtedly has a massive fan following, the prospect of Mikkelsen as Dr. Doom has intrigued fans. Moreover, the decision to go with RDJ has left many feeling that they missed out on a potentially groundbreaking performance. I kind of agree. Social media has been ablaze with discussions about the potential that a Mikkelsen-led Dr. Doom could have brought to the MCU. A lot of fans expressed their disappointment. And we see some tweets here. This guy goes by the handle Dude Bro. He would have been better than RDJ. Tundra Crusher says his past roles are captivating. AC Cyborg Ninja said, I like Mads. I think Mads would have been a great choice, but to say he would have been better than RDJ at this point before any actual footage of RDJ as Doom has even been conceived is ridiculous and absolutely psychotic. Oh, wow. That's not hyperbole or anything, is it? Braden Bennett says, anyone would have been better than RDJ. I feel like it's just fan service anymore. A lot of fans also stood tall for RDJ, claiming that nothing could be said before any footage was released. However, Mikkelsen's allure lies in his ability to blend charisma with menace. Additionally, his portrayal of Hannibal Lecter was a masterclass in subtlety and terror. He perfectly portrayed the character who was both intelligent and terrifying. Fans believe that he could have brought a similar level of complexity and depth to Dr. Doom. Yeah, I think he would have been a better choice. I think what it boils down to is that, it's no big secret that most of the MCU movies since Endgame have not really been received that well. And most of them have been disappointing with even a few bombs here and there. I think that the immediate follow-up, which was now the Spider-Man, the Spider-Man one that came after, what was it? Far From Home, I think it was. I think that was during COVID, so I think you could maybe kind of blame COVID for that. But most of the others, they didn't do so well. And again, a couple of flops, outright flops here and there. I think the only one that really has been, I think, well, before Deadpool and Wolverine anyway, was that Spider-Man No Way Home. And basically, they needed a home run. And also, I think part of this, with these companies, you always got to consider the stock price, right? And I think that casting Robert Downey Jr., particularly when they announced it in particular, was designed to help boost the stock price. Because I think this was just a few weeks before their earnings report. And, RDJ, it's a name most people know, and bringing him back into the MCU in one form or another was bound to generate a lot of buzz that would probably result in a bit of a boost in the stock price. So I imagine that's a big part of it too. Basically, they're scared. And this is kind of I think a bit of a desperation move to bring him back. Now, will he be good in the role? Look, RDJ is a great actor. I wouldn't question that he isn't maybe capable of being good in the role of Dr. Doom. My main concern, I said it at the time, is just the worry that he's basically just going to be Robert Downey Jr., or not Johnny, but Tony Stark. He's basically just going to be Tony Stark again. And, we'll get this Doom who's, kind of snarky and makes lots of wisecracks, and he's given everybody nicknames and crap like that, which, that was fun for Tony. It's absolutely inappropriate for Doom. I don't want a Doom who's flippant and, basically doesn't take anything seriously, treats everything like a joke. And the worry is that that's what we're going to get. With Mickelson, I would be a little bit more assured we're going to get a Doom that's a bit more in line with what you expect Doom to be. But we can only dream, I guess. Look, they could have made a worse choice. They could have gone with, I don't know. What would be a really bad choice for Dr. Doom? A trendy choice. They could have gotten Kevin Hart or something. Maybe someone like that. I don't know. Or some other freaking comedian like Bill Burr. Okay. All right, here, my next one. What am I at? 28. Yeah, this one's going to be pretty quick. Pretty quick stream here. All right, this is from Talking Biz News. The Hollywood Reporter and Variety have had layoffs. So apparently the Hollywood media outlets they're getting hit hard too. It's not just the studios. And they're also having to fire people. The parent company of industry publications, Hollywood Reporter and Variety, have laid off staff, reports Oliver Darcy of Status. Darcy reports Penske Media Corporation, which owns the lion's share of Hollywood trade publications, including Deadline, Variety, and The Hollywood Reporter, has quietly laid off staffers in piecemeal fashion over the last several weeks, raising questions about the health of the powerhouse publisher. One person familiar with the matter told me dozens of people had been impacted by recent belt tightening. A spokesperson for PMC sidestepped specific questions about the layoffs and state of the business, but told me in a statement, quote, Penske Media is growing and will grow overall in both headcount and revenue this year. Penske Media has grown its total employees in 2022, 23, and 24. As a regular course of business, we are proactive about moving resources from slower growing to higher growing businesses, brands, and departments across the company. So, they own several companies. It sounds like they're trying to pose this as they're just shifting people around. It's not really cutting people as such. I don't know if I buy that personally, but it's not surprising that this would be happening with all the other media layoffs we've seen with, the mainstream media. with outlets like, of course, places like Vice, have basically cut their people down to the bone, in order just to stay running. And I think increasingly are turning to AI and bots to generate content. And then you've got, outlets like, newspapers like the New York Times, cutting and firing staff. And of course, CNN, MSNBC, probably even Fox News, firing people, quite a few people. So it's not surprising that these companies are having to cut people too. And just with the general shrinkage in Hollywood, it seems like there's less stuff being produced, maybe. And if that is, then there's fewer people needed to report on it. So not surprising. Okay. All right. Let me go to my next one here. Yeah, this one's going to be pretty quick because I've only got a couple of stories left here. So this would be maybe 40 minutes. All right. And this is from Bounding into Comics. Original The Crow director can't help but laugh at new film's failure. Quote, I thought the remake was a cynical cash grab. Not much cash to grab, it seems. As is expected of someone who adamantly opposed the project's production from the very beginning, the original Crow film director Alex Proyas is having a field day over the fact that the remake is a certified box office bomb. That assessment is not hyperbole either. Releasing 2 early previews on August 22nd ahead of a full-fledged theatrical release the next day, the Bill Skarsgård-led take on James O'Barr's gothic comic book hero has thus far, per box office analytics outlet The Numbers, only managed to pull in an international total of just $4,811,456 in its opening weekend. Yeah, that's bad. Given the film's reported budget of around $50 million, meaning its actual budget in light of the standard estimates of film's true total budget, including marketing by doubling the reported amounts, it's closer to $100 million. Short of a supernatural revival a la Eric Draven himself, The Crow remake is likely going to go down as one of the biggest production misfires across all of 2024. However, while this may be causing panic among the Lionsgate offices, it's led to nothing but joy for the aforementioned Proyas, who has in recent days taken to his personal Facebook page to relentlessly mock the remake's failure. Said victory lap started off relatively reasonably when, on August 23rd, the director posted to his page the simple observation, wow, the reviews are brutal. This would be followed up with the likewise brief observation on August 25th. Wow, box office is a bloodbath. And from there, the gloves came off. In his next post, Proyas would mock, quote, I thought the remake was a cynical cash grab. Not much cash to grab, it seems. From there, the director shared a fake Facebook safety check-in alert, which notified his followers that he had been marked safe from The Crow's release. Sharing a review from YouTuber Thorias Unlimited, in which the headline questioned if The Crow was even worse than Madam Web, Proyas opined, I love how enraged this guy gets. Is that a thumbs down? Maybe they can lend their digital cinema packages, essentially a collected package of a film's production files, is used by theaters to screen the film via digital cinema projectors, to film schools for classes on now not to make a movie, he added. The theater sure won't need them after next weekend. Sharing another review, this time from French language YouTube critic. Okay, I don't know how you say that. Marais. Proyas made reference to the video's thumbnail and facetiously asked his followers, gigantesque insult, is that good? Finally, the director closed out his celebration by sharing the Critical Drinkers review of the film titled The Crow Worst Movie of the Year and declared the review we've all been waiting for. It's a bit like flogging a dead horse now, so I think I'll stop after this, he ultimately promised his fans. Not until another funny one comes along. Is that it? Okay, I guess that's it. So, yeah, I haven't seen it. Not really that interested. Again, this is a remake that was not needed. I don't think anyone particularly wanted it. It feels kind of like this one was maybe made to retain the rights or something like that, like that Fan Four Stick movie where we just gotta make this movie so that the rights don't lapse and we lose control of the franchise. And from what little I've heard, it's just not very good. It's a mess of a movie. It's not even really about Eric Draven that much. It's more about the female character. So yeah, I'm not gonna miss this one. Okay. All right. So now I've got an interesting story here. So it seems like maybe I helped inspire George Lucas to create Darth Vader in a roundabout way. I mean, not really, but well, you'll see. And again, this is from Bounding into Comics. Now, this is something I actually had known about for some time, I think, or really didn't know, but had kind of guessed at years ago. And I had at one point had been thinking about doing a video on my channel about this and basically posing this argument. So Brian De Palma and Paul Williams's cult classic rock opera, The Phantom of the Paradise, might have given George Lucas inspiration for Darth Vader. Earlier this week, you were introduced to The Phantom of the Paradise, or reacquainted with the rock opera directed by Brian De Palma, with music written and performed by actor-singer Paul Williams before his career hit its stride. His first major film, it was a flop upon release, but became the breakout Williams needed. In his own words, Phantom led to the varied career he's had, and he was not the only one to leave an imprint on pop culture because of the movie. Notwithstanding De Palma and his success, another aspect of this flamboyant Gothic piece of cinema that can be considered of lasting influence isn't a person so much as a sort of archetype. Winslow Leach, played by William Finley, took on a unique appearance as the Phantom that's earned a meme-like status. He looks familiar, doesn't he? The unforgettable costume has become so legendary in certain artistic circles where it's been riffed and homaged many times throughout the years. We're talking about comic artists working in the big leagues of illustrated media and around the globe, influenced by the owl-like visage. Parallels clear to those looking include Kentaro Miura, who using Winslow as a template for Charlotte in the manga Berserk, and a late 90s update to the obscure Alpha Flight foe, the Master of the World, echoes the Faustian virtuoso's helmet and scars. But there is one more mysterious case pointing to a more well-known IP in the Disney family. Paradise and De Palma's superfan Ari Kahan, who was alongside Williams when he spoke to Movie Maker, believes in an interesting but unspoken connection between the Phantom and Darth Vader. Yeah, so here we go. Losing his voice in the accident that scarred him, the former talks with the aid of electronics in a menacing robotic tone. I mean, it's not really robotic. I think it's actually cooler than that. It's more of a kind of, he's got this kind of staticky electronic crackle to his voice that I've never heard anywhere else, and I love it. I wanted to try and do that for my channel, actually, and talk like that, but I could never really figure out how to do it right. The closest I could come is, there's like a Cylon voice changer thing you can do where you can kind of sound like a Cylon, but it wasn't right. Okay, add to that his heartbreaking origin out of a Greek tragedy, and you have a few telling similarities to Anakin going to the dark side. For Kahan, they aren't mere coincidence. No question, he said when Movie Maker brought this up. Nobody that I know of has asked Lucas to his face, but I do know that there was a preview screening of Phantom on the Fox lot in July of 1974, so 4 or 5 months before the film was released. Lucas was at that screening and was sufficiently impressed by Paul Hirsch's editing And I assume that based on Brian's recommendation of Hearst, that Lucas brought him on to edit Star Wars. I can't imagine that between his voice box and the heavy breathing and the black outfit that some of the Phantom didn't creep into Darth Vader. I have no hard evidence, and nobody that I know of has ever admitted to it. Now, I'll just keep reading. Kahan and the rest of us might never know the truth, but Disney could have some splaining to do down the road if more people catch on. After the purchase of 20th Century Fox, Phantom of the Paradise fell under the studio's umbrella like Star Wars and Marvel. So you can probably look forward to a remake some here in the coming years. It has sadly resided in their vault for a time, but the dubious contract with Swan was eventually renewed so the film could have an encore on Hulu. So that's probably why they're doing this article, because it's showing on Hulu now. So yeah, don't be surprised if they remake this thing here in the near future. I wouldn't be surprised. But the thing where he says nobody has really owned up to it. Seems like I remember reading or seeing something somewhere where some of the people from who were in the movie and worked on the movie were at a convention, and doing a panel where they were talking about it. And someone on the panel, I can't remember who, I think it was one of the sound people, had said that maybe that Lucas had indeed been inspired, and that was kind of where he had gotten the idea. Now, again, maybe that's just hearsay. I don't know. But yeah, I've thought for a few years now that there could be a connection here because, De Palma and Lucas did know each other. I don't know how close they were, but they definitely knew each other and were on friendly terms, and they were both part of that kind of batch of filmmakers that was, coming into Hollywood there at the beginning of the 70s. People like, Coppola, Lucas, De Palma. Who else? Trying to remember some of the others. I'm blank on some of the other names. Zemeckis, maybe he kind of came later. And, they had, I think, kind of attended the same film school, and so they were pretty chummy. So I found it hard to believe that he wasn't familiar with this and that he might have seen the Phantom and cribbed ideas. Because, again, as some have pointed out in the article, there's a lot of obvious similarities. Okay. So where am I at here? 43 minutes. Okay, well, that's going to be it for me this week. Like I say, kind of another short one. So I want to thank those who tuned in to the stream and those who will watch on a rewatch later on. Please do like the stream if you're listening, and please do sub to the channel if you haven't already, and maybe check out some of my other videos while you're here. I should be streaming Tuesday night, I think. I'll doing one of my Trek Talk live streams. I'll be taking a look at Space Seed, the original Star Trek episode Space Seed. So until then, have a good night, and thanks for watching.